I watched the movie Send Help yesterday on Hulu, and although I had a lot of thoughts and saw a lot of messaging throughout the film, once I allowed the entire movie to simmer, I saw the greatest message of all. When one is desperate, they take drastic measures. I think this analysis will be fairly spoiler heavy, so be warned. So if you already watched it, this is the video for you. But if you haven't watched Send Help yet, then and you want to, then I would skip this. But I feel like if you've never watched it and you're not going to watch it, you should still stick around. Anyways, my name is Mia. Welcome to Mia is Anonymous, the podcast where I discuss girlhood, womanhood, feminism, and everything in between. Today, we are discussing Linda Liddle, played by Rachel McAdams, and her quest to keep around a Bradley Preston, played by Dylan O'Brien. Side note, with the exception of Teen Wolf, why is Dylan O'Brien always playing a total D-bag? Like, every time I've seen him in a project, he's, totally one. I mean, he plays a great one, so, kudos to him. But, I watched, Not Okay with, is her name Zoe Dutch? But I watched him in Not Okay. I obviously watched him in the All Too Well 10-minute version short film. He's always playing a D-bag. He plays a great one. Oh, he's a phenomenal D-bag in this movie. But, anyways, I'm diverting. Let's get started. So who is Linda Liddle? Linda is an older woman working in a corporate office. Right off the bat, we see that she is tenacious, hardworking, and dedicated to her company. In the opening scene, we see Linda putting the finishing touches on a company report. The report was extremely detailed-oriented, and it is greatly assumed that it was also extremely time-consuming. Because when I tell you it was deeply detailed, it was. I mean, we don't see the report, but the way she speaks about it. So it's automatically assumed that it was time-consuming. She is completely overlooked and undervalued at her job. The viewer can see this through how her other co-workers interact with her. Through their facial expressions and noises, we can see that they find her to be awkward, embarrassing, and uncool. What doesn't help is how Linda chooses to present herself. Her style is a little dated. She eats tuna at her desk instead of the break room. And she is a little older than her counterparts. So we don't see everyone in the office. The only other woman that is older than Linda is the receptionist to Bradley Preston. But most of her constituents, all of her coworkers, appear to be a lot younger than her. Maybe not a lot younger. Linda Liddle, I'm assuming she's somewhere in her mid to late 40s. And then everybody around her seems to be in their late 20s, 30s. Anyways. This leads to her being overshadowed by a younger and more charismatic man, Donovan, who is not as hardworking or knowledgeable about the company as Linda. We see this when he takes her company report, doesn't invite Linda to the meeting for said company report, and takes credit for her work in said meeting. So what we have here, just in summation. So Linda Liddle is a very hardworking woman, and she dedicates a lot of time and effort into this company. Donovan, who does not care, does not know what he's doing, just because of who he is, I guess. I don't know. In connections to other people, he's allowed to just act like the big huncho, even though Linda's doing all the work. And so in the beginning scene, we see that she worked really hard on this company report, and he doesn't invite her to the meeting about talking about the company report. Instead, he just takes credit. So he takes her work, and then she stalks him to the meeting, and then he sees that he says, "Oh, I've been working all month on this," even though it's been her that's been working all month on it. So that's awful. Now we need to focus on Bradley Preston. Bradley Preston is the new president of Linda's company through inheritance after his father's death. He is young, handsome, and like I said before, a D-bag. Even though the father wanted Linda to be vice president, Bradley wants to give it to Donovan since they are old pals who play golf together. This shows how Bradley does not value character when it comes to his father's company. He values appearance. He sees a frumpy, awkward Linda who is not as charming or attractive as Donovan. Regardless of her skill, knowledge, and tenacity, Donovan will be the next vice president, even though he does not know what he's doing. So, it doesn't go into detail about the father. Like, we never hear a backstory. I mean, we hear a little bit of a backstory about the father, but it's like, why didn't he, like, make her vice president? I guess because I think Bradley was vice president, but I feel like the father should have just, like, if he knew he was passing, I do not know how the father died. But, like, if the father knew of his passing, I was like, why didn't he just make the son president while he was alive and then give vice president to Linda to ensure that she gets it? He just leaves it to his son, his very superficial, egotistical son, and the son completely undervalues Linda. He does not like her, and it's just based off of appearance, because there's nothing like in the opening scenes, there's nothing wrong with Linda. She's completely fine. But whatever. Okay, we're going to fast forward a bit. Linda and Bradley find themselves stranded on an island off of the coast of Thailand. They are the sole survivors of a plane crash, and now must learn how to survive in the island wilderness. Except, Linda is already incredibly prepared. She is a nature lover. We see this in her apartment with photos of her in various U.S. national parks and her love for the show Survivor. She knows how to build a shelter based on plants and wood that she is given around the island. She takes advantage of rainfall using leaves and coconut to harbor water. She knows how to start a fire. Like, she is a badass in the nature scene. And she knows how to hunt and gather food. We see a very wild... Again, I should have added this when desperate times call for drastic measures. But she annihilates a boar. A very vicious boar. And she does all this seamlessly and effortlessly. Like, she knows how to survive on this island. She knows how to use nature to her advantage on this island. Now let's get to Bradley and how he's acting on this island. I will give him some slack. He does sustain a pretty bad leg injury from the crash. All he can do is, like, lay there for, like, a good, like, week or two. But when he does get better, we see that he is massively underprepared to handle the wilderness, unlike Linda. He also has different views on how they should be handling their island isolation. He would prefer Linda to use her time to make and send out signals instead of creating, like, a lifestyle, a livelihood in this island. He is demanding and belittling, and as he makes these suggestions, except for the first time in his life, he doesn't have the upper hand. So he's belittling her and demanding that she works in the way that he wants her to work by, like, writing help in stones and trying to send a signal somehow, some way. But he's helpless. He is helpless. And he can only count on Linda because Linda is the only able-bodied person, and she's the only one that's knowledgeable about her surroundings. She's the only one knowledgeable about survival. So Linda is enjoying this. She feels like she finally has the upper hand. She is finally seen and valued for more than how she's viewed back at home. So obviously when Bradley does get better, he starts relying and depending on Linda. He tries for one single day to be out on his own and do his own thing, but he can't. So he fully depends on Linda. So she's enjoying this. She's enjoying being valued and being seen, because this is not who she is back home. Back home, she is undervalued, she is overlooked, and she feels it, she knows it. So Bradley needs her Bradley needs her, and in some ways, he is looking up to her. She is enjoying this kind of positive attention from Bradley. It's a bonus because Bradley is very young and good looking. So, like, there is, like, times in the beginning of the opening scene where she, like, discusses that she does find, like, this guy really attractive, and how she, like, kind of fantasizes about being with him even though he's younger, and, like, richer than her, but, like, she dreams about being with him. And, I guess, like, in this situation, he overlooks her. He does not value her. He's really nasty to her in the office, even in the island in the beginning. When they were getting settled, he was really nasty to her. But as time went on, he started looking up to her and valuing her knowledge and insight and her skills. And she really enjoyed this positive attention. Okay, so she likes him. She thinks he's very young and good looking, which he is. Dylan O'Brien is very young and good looking. So one day, when Linda is out looking for fruit, she sees a boat filled with people. So, okay, they've been stranded on this island, and they think that they're alone, that there's nobody coming out for them. They think they're in, like, the middle of the ocean, away from people. But they're not. She literally sees a boat filled with people. But instead of calling out for them, she hides from the boat. She hides from the boat of people that can save her. She does not want to be rescued. She'd prefer to stay on the island alone with Bradley. Hiding away from help is not the only thing that she does in order to stay on the island with Bradley. She also poisons him, uses her massive knowledge of survival against him, and kills others who find them and try to rescue them. So she does a lot. In order to stay on this island and still be seen and heard and valued by Bradley, a guy that she is very interested in, she is willing to hide from help and rescue so that they could be taken back to civilization. She uses her knowledge of, like, nature, like, to her advantage, and so, like, she'll kind of, like, manipulate Bradley in some ways. She'll lie to him about certain nature aspects that prevents him from going to certain parts of the island, even though he should be going there, but, like, she just lies, and he knows no better. Like, he doesn't know anything, so he just willingly trusts her. She poisons him, which is nasty. I mean, he also poisons her, but, like, still, like, be better. And then she kills others. Like, she kills people that did come to their rescue, tries to find them. Like, she kills them because she does not want to leave the island with Bradley. Like, she does not want to leave the island that she's, like, with. It's just crazy. So, this leads me to my point of the video. This leads me to the point. Desperate times call for drastic measures. Linda is so desperate to be seen, valued, and admired by Bradley that she would literally rather pretend to be stranded on an island with him and avoid help at all costs. This isn't the first time Linda has done something drastic in order to get out of a desperate situation. After she makes island booze, she and Bradley get drunk and start revealing their deeper secrets. Linda admits that she's been married once. He was an abusive drunk, and after a really bad fight, she lets him have the keys to his car. She usually hides them, but she claimed that the fight was so bad that she just gave them to him even though she knew he was drunk. This ultimately led to his death. So now we have two instances where Linda feels the need to take drastic measures in order to receive something she desperately needs. With Bradley, it's attention. With her late husband, it's an escape. So, just to reiterate, she discusses, like, on the island with Bradley, that she had a husband, he was an abusive drunk, and one night they were fighting really, really badly. And she hides his keys usually, so to prevent him from drunk driving. But she said that night the fight was so bad that she just gave in and gave him his keys just so he could leave. And that was the night he died, because he died in a car crash from drunk driving. So that's another example of, like, she was in an extreme situation. She was desperate and she took drastic measures. She's obviously not responsible for that man's death, but, like, inadvertently she is, because she gave him the keys knowing that he was drunk. So what does this all mean? The whole time I was watching this movie, I kept asking the question, is all of this really worth it? Is it worth it for your conscience? Does the end goal make it necessary? What drives Linda to be so extreme? Because in both cases, with Bradley and with her husband, her late husband, she's very extreme. Like, these are very extreme measures, drastic measures. To, like, pretend that you're stranded on an island just so you could get attention from a guy, like, that is extreme level crazy. But I had to say that I did relate to her story a little bit. Not as much as her, but I did relate to her story myself. I, too, have been around abusive men, and I, too, have felt like extreme measures could be taken, were the only ways that could be taken in order to escape them. Of course, like, I'm not going to go into detail about these thoughts, but I know a lot of women and girls and people, just in general, feel that way, too. If you're ever around an abusive person, you feel like there's no escaping them unless extreme, drastic measures are taken, whether that be jail, whether that be you running away and disappearing. Like, it's obviously not always surrounded by killing somebody. I do not condone killing anybody, but people that are in abusive situations, the only way they feel like they can escape is through extreme drastic measures. I understand that completely. What Linda was doing was acting in an extreme way against a system that always put her down. She took an extreme measure to escape her abusive husband. It's never explicitly stated what happened between her and her husband. Like, we don't know what happened in the fight, but it may have been bad enough for her to be traumatized, but not bad enough for law enforcement to take it seriously. In the real world, only 50% of domestic violence is reported, most likely because of fear or lack of support. So it's like only 50% of DV cases are reported. And like I said, probably because of lack of fear or support, they may not believe that they will be taken seriously or that anything will happen. And arrests for DV are incredibly low. Out of 100 calls, only 10 arrests are made, stating that most officers view it as a private family matter. And so, like, with this context, we get a better insight on why she made the choices that she did. Like, she may have felt like law enforcement wouldn't take her seriously, they wouldn't take the case seriously, so she felt like the only way to escape him was to give him the keys while he was intoxicated. But obviously, Bradley isn't abusive. So how does this relate to Bradley? Why is she stranded on an island with Bradley? Bradley isn't abusive, but he still benefits from the system, and he still has put Linda down. He inherits a company that he didn't need to build and dismisses Linda as a worker and a human being. Several times, he has made her feel small in terms of her status, behavior, and appearance. He doesn't put her into any physical harm, but he makes fun of her. And when she is only a few feet away from him, so he makes fun of her, like, basically to her face. He disregards his father's wishes for her to be vice president just because he can. And even when they are stranded on an island, he expects her to take his commands as if they were still in the office. He doesn't need to hit her or put her life in danger in order to make her feel scared, hopeless, and small. She still, even though, like, he's not physically abusive towards her, she still depends on him for her livelihood. That is her boss. So in both situations, she is seen as helpless. So in her mind, it only makes sense to take drastic measures in order to be seen, heard, and safe. I am not condoning her behavior. In fact, I found a lot of what she did to be repulsive and unhelpful. I didn't think the ending justified the means, even with my analysis of her and her character. But I do think there is a lot we can learn from her complex way of thinking and her behavior. And that's why I made this video. I feel like it's, like, very safe to say that, like, this woman is a victim of the system, of the patriarchy in multiple ways by a D-bag boss and an abusive late husband. And so she's learned over time, in order to be safe, in order to be valued, in order to be heard, in order to be placed into a position of power, you need to make extreme decisions. So the first extreme decision was inadvertently killing her husband. And then the other one was pretending to be stranded on an island with Bradley, even though she knew that they could be rescued. So, I do not condone her actions, but I do find this was one of my favorite essays to write. So much so that I did not need to make any revisions or editing changes. I just did it in one fell swoop because I loved this essay so much. I found it, like, so helpful, and I just love art. I love art. It makes me think. It makes me feel. So I enjoy it. And I hope that you enjoyed it too.